So if you don't already have the PDF printed off that we're using to go through the self-sabotage, somebody would think they could grab it and drop the link in the chat. I'm sure somebody has that available. What we're doing is printing this off and listening to this and filling in the blanks. And so here we are at the very beginning of June, day one. I love that the power hour is on the very first day. And some of us maybe met some goals. Some of us maybe saw team members meet some goals. Some of us probably didn't reach where we were hoping to reach. And all of that is okay, because what we do is we continue to show up, we continue to set goals, and we continue to grow. So if anyone's been able to watch that time blocking video so far today, by the way, there should be 3 worksheets that go along with that I printed off. I'm using them for my family right now that Christina gave everybody. So check that out. Does anyone want to share a win from May before we listen? Anything special or amazing?
Hey, Jen, I'll share.
Heather, tell me.
So I now have 2 more new goals on my team as of yesterday.
How does that make you feel? I need to hear that.
Oh, it's super exciting.
Like, do you
my
kind of
team
feel
is
like
exploding.
are you feeling like I'm a leader? Like, are you feeling that like in your bones? Because truly, 2 golds in a month. I'm sorry, but that's amazing.
Yes, and I ended 16 people from Ruby.
Y'all,
So it's happening, Jen. It's happening.
That's got to feel good. And Heather has been like super dedicated to her business, the products. She comes to every event. Like, she takes this seriously. And I feel like seeing her reap the reward of that makes me kind of teary-eyed. Leslie, what were you going to share?
Just that we went on vacation and I still got my 2 people. I mean, it's not huge, but I did nothing except post vacation pictures while we were on vacation. Of course, it was my birthday and our 40th anniversary too. So, but I got the bonus for the 2.
That's awesome. And congrats on 40 years, surviving 40 years.
Right.
I'm just kidding. Tell your husband I said that. He'd think it was funny. Anybody else have a big shout out they want to give for themselves or someone else? Ernestina, did I say it right? Or is that? Go ahead and unmute.
I thought I wasn't going to get anybody this month. I've been on such a roll, 6 a month for the last like 3 months. And I was like, well, it's okay if I don't get anybody this month. It looked the crickets. And I put up the magic post. I need 6 friends to join. And I literally signed up 5 people that day. So, Christina, my upline, she swears by that post. And I always hate that post because everyone's like, is it free? Is it free? A couple of people, they're like, so what do I get for free? And then, I just say no. And this month was great because you got the free active. So you get the 4 products for the price of really the slip. So
have they put out the incentive for this month?
I don't know.
You saw it, and is it the free pineapple lemongrass?
Ooh, I don't know.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Maybe I can copy and paste this too. Sorry, I'm dysfunctional when it comes to this. I should have closed my tabs before I let you guys see what I'm looking at. Okay, April Ann, she made a post the other day talking about this special. And I was like, dang, that's good. Okay, hold on. Is it right here? Let me make it big. I'll copy it too. The next 3 who grab my favorites for $99, a savings of $55 with a coupon code I'll share, get a free $40 gift, a free water bottle, first come, first serve. I felt like that wording, personally, I'd be like, wait, I'm going to save $55 and get a free $40 gift and a free water bottle. Yeah. Like, it's just the way it sounds. I don't know. So let me copy that. Oh, wait, it won't. Yeah, it will. I'm going to copy that and drop it in the chat. Personally, I thought it was like amazing. Anybody else want to share a shout out? Oh, hold on. Carol.
So a little bit of shout out to me, but a little bit of shout out for my team. So I developed a new silver, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but for the last probably 4 months, I've been so focused on one leg that I haven't even looked at the other leg. And so I'm really excited that I helped somebody reach a goal this month. And that was their goal, to hit silver by the end of the month. So I was really excited about that.
You should be. And I'm gonna be honest, the last time I got someone to silver, I think it was, well, it was a while ago. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. It was at least 3 or 4 months ago. And so I personally think anyone that can get someone sharing deserves like an award, because it's huge. It's huge. And as we get through this Tips to the Top series, guys, Joanna Slavin and Krista Howland, of course, they're not towards the end of the month, have the most amazing system, and Amber Miller. Gosh, I want to just give you the links now for getting people to share, and then how to take care of them after they've joined. Like, I was writing everything down, every single bit of their systems. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have had this at the very beginning, because this is perfect. So make sure you're tuning into all those videos. Anybody else want to raise their hand and share something special? Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and we're going to listen to the John Maxwell podcast. I'm moving very slowly. Okay, so as long as everybody has their worksheet, I think we're good to go.
We'll give you the remedy for John's behavior in number 9. And you can find those at maxwellpodcast.com/sabotage. Hey, thank you for joining us. John Maxwell is ready to go. Let's click into the link now. Let's hear John Maxwell talk on self-sabotage. Get out of your own way.
Number 5. The 5th way that we hurt our success is by surrounding yourself with negative people. When you surround yourself with negative people, well, it's just obvious that you're going to hurt yourself. And the reason why is people are either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. Charles Tremendous Jones said 2 things determine what you'll be in the next 5 years, and that is what you read and who you associate with. We all know that. Now, when you surround yourself with negative people, or it doesn't only have to be negative people, when you surround yourself with small thinking people. In fact, they may be positive. They just may never had a good new thought for the last 10 years of their life. When you surround yourself with those kind of people, you absolutely have no chance to achieve what you could achieve, only because of the people that you've got around you. Before you ever huddle to get the strategy going, there are some questions you better ask about the people that you have surrounding you. Here are the questions. Number 1, do they believe in me? There's no sense even calling the play if you answer a no to that question. Do they believe in me? If they don't believe in you, they're not going to block for you, tackle for you. They're not going to do anything for you. You've got to, do they believe in me? And beside that, you might want to put the word respect, because that's believing in a person truly is just respecting that person. That's the key word. Okay. Do they believe in me? Okay. The second question is, do they have my interest at heart? In other words, the people that I have around me, do they have the same interest at heart that I do? Do we have a like heart, like mind? And beside that, you can put the word loyalty. If they have my interest at heart, I can guarantee you, if somebody has your interest at heart, they're going to be pulling in the trenches for you, or vice versa. Isn't that true? Okay, number 3. The third question is, can they help me? In other words, I know a lot of wonderful people who believe in me and they have my interest at heart, but they just can't help me. I mean, when I say they can't help me, they don't have abilities that I need to make it happen. There are fans in the stands who have the quarterback's interest at heart, but the quarterback's in desperate trouble if they have to go put on a uniform and come out and do the blocking for it, right? So it's more than just loving somebody and caring for somebody. And beside that question, can they help me, put the word ability. I mean, ability has to come in. Do they have the ability to pull it off? Question number 4 before going to the huddle. If they help me, will it change them? I'll talk to you about that one. If they do help me, in other words, if they have the ability, they have my interest at heart, they believe in me, if they do help me, will it change them? And put beside that the word attitude. Now, here's what I mean. When a team begins to experience some success, it's very common in athletics, it's also very common in corporations, for enough people to emerge as stars because of the success of the team, till after a while, they don't help the quarterback anymore. They either want to be traded somewhere else, or they want a higher salary, or it begins to be a different agenda. Now, I'm not even opposed to that. But I'm saying in running a good team, you got to always look at that, and you begin to, I have to ask myself the question, as they help me succeed, what will it do for them? And will that, sometime down the road, instead of becoming an asset because of their abilities and qualities, will it become a liability? I'll tell you something else I found. Almost every friend that I started off with in the beginning today is not a close friend. For one very simple reason. I learned very early in my life that people can't handle, even your friends have a hard time handling your success. Now, I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm not even hurt anymore. It used to be lonely and hurt, but now I'm sometimes a little lonely, but not hurt. And I found out a long time ago that even the team that you build, if somebody begins to be elevated, there can be jealousy, envy, strife, bitterness. Why is he getting to do this and I don't get to do that? I watch team members sometimes want to look at others and say, well, now why does she do this and I don't get to do this? And so when you develop a team, you got to always be asking yourself, if we really get good, what will it do to the team members? Remedy for negative people? Well, the choice is the key. When possible, choose not to be with them. That's been my kind of life. When I find somebody that I don't think is going to be healthy, I just, basically love them, but don't live with them, don't stay with them. When impossible, and sometimes it is impossible because of family, etc., choose to rise above them. Always rise above the small thinker. Number 6, we sabotage ourselves many times by expecting failure. A lot of times people, they don't have a chance because they just expect to fail in the first place. Epitaph on a pessimist's tombstone, I expected this. Isn't that true? Don't you know people that they just basically expect failure? I mean, I know some people, bless their heart, they couldn't have a good time if God was along to help them. They don't expect it and feel they don't deserve it. And guess what? They don't get it and wonder why everybody else does in life. Expecting failure. You see, there are 2 keys in successful relationships, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a staff situation like what we have. There are 2 keys to successful relationships. One is all successful relationships build on strengths, not on weaknesses. You show me anybody, any group of people coming together for any endeavor that's successful, they build on strengths. And secondly, they expect the best. Those 2 things, you just find that in every good organization, every good team. They build on strength and they expect the best. Now, I want to tell you something. You show me any bad team, organization, relationship, family matter, whole issue. You show me anything that's falling apart, and I want to guarantee you something. Those 2 ingredients will be exactly the opposite. And that's a fact. Instead of building on strengths, they'll expose weaknesses. In other words, they'll start to go after each other's weaknesses. And the second thing they'll do, they'll not only expose and go after each other's weaknesses, but instead of expecting the best, they'll begin to expect the worst to happen. It's the only difference in marriage between a good marriage and a bad marriage. The only difference. Before marriage, they expect the best and they build on the strengths of their partner. After marriage, they find out what the partner's like. And instead, they begin to dwell on the weaknesses and they begin to expect the worst. Same couple, total different outlook, total different outcome also. Remedy for expecting failures. I want to take a moment and talk to you about this. Predetermine the picture. In other words, if you're a kind of person that expects failure a lot, predetermine the picture. Try to get in your mind a picture of what's going to happen, and then try to eliminate all the negative options and possibilities, and try to plan for the positives, and then get excited about it and go for it. What I'm saying is, when you have a tendency to expect failure, one of the best ways to keep yourself from experiencing it is to do those kind of things, to eliminate as many possible negatives as you can, so that when you get there, it's as good as it possibly can be. Okay, number 7. Number 7, being unable to learn from others hurts our chances for success. The inability to learn from other people. This is a little bit different than understanding people. Learning from people is an admission that we don't know everything. In fact, Henry Ford said, if there's one secret to success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from his angle as well as your own. Now, the type of person that is unable to learn from others has what I call an I problem. They either think that they're infallible. In other words, they're just, some people think, well, I'm right. I know I'm right. And so therefore, who needs to listen to anybody else anyway? Or they're inflexible. Basically, they're stubborn. They're just going to say, well, I may be wrong. This is the way I'm going to do it. Okay. And almost always they're insecure. Almost always. Insecure people do not do well learning from others. But when we are unable to learn from them, it will hurt our chances of success. Remedy for being unable to learn for others? Well, again, insecure people won't do this, but here's a good remedy for you. Hang around smarter people than yourself. In other words, when I say smarter people who have already been on the track longer than you have, soon you will either start learning from them or you will be left behind by them. And that's really true. The best way to start learning from others is get around a crowd that is above you. And then all of a sudden you'll begin to see that there's a whole world that you don't know. And you'll either learn from it and grow from it, or else you'll not learn from it and be left behind. Number 8, refusing to take a risk. Many people sabotage themselves because they just won't take a risk. It's that safety at all cost mindset that keeps them from really reaching out. The remedy for refusing to take a risk, just get bigger goals and hang around bigger people. Number 9, undisciplined living. When we live an undisciplined life, we'll constantly sabotage ourselves. Vince Lombardi said, I've never known a man with his salt who in the long run, deep down in his heart, didn't appreciate the grind and the discipline. I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, this greatest fulfillment to all he holds dear, is the moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious. Good words, Vince, good words. There are some areas that when we are undisciplined, it becomes very costly to us. Things such as your time. Everyone has the same amount, but not everyone utilizes it the same way. When we're undisciplined in time, very costly. Secondly, your energy. When you do not use your strengths for your strengths, terrible waste of it. 3, your goals. You can't do everything, so we have to figure out what we're going to do. And number 4, your moods. Either master your moods or they will master you. An awful lot of people who could have done an awful lot of wonderful things didn't do it because their moods didn't allow them. They allowed their moods to be the controlling influence of their life. Undisciplined living. The whole bottom line is most people do not achieve what they really can achieve because they either have laziness in their life, or they've got personal problems that they've never overcome, or they've got moods that they're trying to kind of get together so that they can feel right in doing some of these things. They've never learned that you act and then you feel, and they always feel and act. Undisciplined lifestyle keeps us, at many times, sabotages our success. Number 10, being stopped by failure. Many times we just don't achieve what we could achieve because we allow ourselves to be stopped by failure. let's talk about it for a moment. Failures and mistakes are a part of our lives. We all do it. The attitude we have toward them, however, separates the successful people from the unsuccessful people. Now, let me talk to you about that. I sat down when I was working on this lesson, and I asked myself a question, because I see this happen all the time. I see constantly people stopped by failures. And so I asked myself, John, why is it that some people are stymied and stopped by failures and some people just go on? And I figured it out. It feels so good when the light breaks through. And the other day when I was working on this lesson, the light all of a sudden broke through. And I'm going to tell you the difference. And I want you to be sure to get this, because I want to talk to you about it. People who are stopped by failures see their failures in a personal perspective. In other words, they take failure personally. Now watch this. People who are not stopped by failures, they see it from a process perspective. And here's the whole world of difference. A person who is stopped by failure looks at it as an attack on their personal worth and competence. And that's why it's so painful for them to admit it, and it's why it's so painful for them to get back into that arena again. In other words, they say, oh, I have failed, I'm a failure. In other words, they personally take failure and attribute to what they can't do, what they haven't been able to do, what their background is or something. And they look at this failure and they can't go back to getting back at that door to knock it down, because it's painful, because they personally attribute failure to themselves. The person who's not stopped by failure, they'll be the first to say, well, I blew that one. That didn't work. But they don't take it personally. Now, it doesn't mean they don't take responsibility. It doesn't mean that they go blame somebody else for it. But I am saying they look at their failure and say, yes, yeah, and I was maybe the leader of it, so therefore I'm responsible for it, and I'll take the blame. Now that I've taken the blame, now that I've crawled in the dust, now that I've said, oh, I'm such a poor person in life, please shoot me at dawn. Now that I've done all that, now I'm ready to get on with life. In other words, they look at failure not in a personal perspective at all, but they look at failure and they say, sure, I've done some, but I also know that almost every success in life has some failure in it, and I've got to go right back to that door. And they look at it as a challenge. People who are stopped by failure. Now you think about that, and this will help you in working with them. When people are stopped by failure, they normally have a very low self-image. If we would just understand this, we'd quit taking ourselves so seriously. And we would certainly quit being paranoid over failure. We would just realize that that is a part of life. And it's just the perspective of failure. Now, remedy for being stopped by failure, lighten up. Don't take everything so personal. Focus on the possibilities, not the liabilities. Never stay down, get back up. People admire courage more than they admire brilliance. Remember that, they admire courage. The greatest books that have ever been written are courage books, not brilliant books. We don't write books about people who are smart. We write books about people who overcome adversity.
All right, that last thing was my absolute favorite of the whole thing. People admire courage more than brilliance. So really quick, let's just reflect before we get to working about June, goals, social media, all the things. Last time we did this, the resounding number one self-sabotage was lack of focus. And so I'm wondering, do you self-sabotage the most through surrounding yourself with the wrong people? Like you're not willing to find new people, better people. Do you expect failure? Like when I do this, it's not going to work. Are you not coachable, unable to learn from other people? And it could be because maybe you're afraid to trust someone and trust their instinct, or it could also be that you think you know better and you're stubborn. Do you refuse to take a risk? Do you have undisciplined living? And are you stopped by failure? So does anyone want to share one that was like, that was me? All right, Stacy.
So I put it in the chat, but honestly, that undisciplined versus disciplined learning was huge for me because, and again, I'm not telling everybody to go out and do 75 hard, but when we were doing that, my business was in the most momentum it has ever been in. So I just find when I personally am disciplined with my self-care and all of those things, then my business is booming. And when I'm not, like right now, it's not. So that's something I've learned about myself for sure.
I remember you sharing that, and it's frustrating because I'm a free spirit. I'm assuming you're a free spirit, Stacy. So part of that is you create a story that says, if I live in structure, I cannot be myself. But the truth is, I haven't felt like myself in a long time. When I live undisciplined, I never get a chance to be me because I'm stressed and worried and balls are dropping. So it's really not me after all. Does anybody else want to share something that was like their number one? Who wants to admit to their self-sabotage?
I feel like I always share, but I can share.
Yeah. Share.
You know what really resonated with me was the small thinking. I was like, I think it's a self-protection. It's like a self-preservation thing. Think small and you can't let yourself down.
And you said that, and the first thing that came to my mind is, I mean, my husband is the kind of person that he's content. He doesn't need more. He just doesn't need more. And I thought, well, how is it different to think small versus I don't need more than this? And I started thinking about your organizations and what is it that makes people in your organization believe that it's possible that they could achieve big things, that they could pay their mortgage each month, or that maybe they really could earn a trip at Leaders Retreat or even Hawaii. What is it that makes them believe that? Well, a big part of it is seeing you do it, because you're literally paving the way. So the smaller we think, the more we lid people. We are actually blocking the doors, barring the doors for people to come up and go through them. I hate that, but at the same time, it's really important to hear. I think that if you guys will spend some time thinking through self-sabotage, you'll be able to recognize it. So when something comes up and you're like, I don't need more, like, I really don't need to push for this. It's like, I'm 70 points away from it, but I'm content, like I'm good. I hope that you would say that and go, oh, that is actually me thinking small, because momentum creates momentum. So if you miss the opportunity to push for whatever that rank was that you were just so close to, that rank would have catapulted other people on your team to want to work for something that they can achieve. It's so important. All right, so I am going to go ahead. I didn't get to finish. On Monday, I started game planning all of my social media posts for June. And we said every week should have at least 2 lives. You should always have a plan for your stories, and you should always have a plan for a post. Tina shared a Word document, and I thought that is so easy, but so smart. She sat down and just did a brain dump on every topic she could ever possibly think of that she could write a post on. And it wasn't like she's like nitric oxide and alpha lipoic acid. It was like things that she finds interesting and she's passionate about that she could write about without having to even research. And so she had all these topics to pull from. What that does is remove any excuses from you saying, I don't know what to post about. So I would encourage you guys to get all of June, and I really do mean all of June, scheduled out. You know that when you're at convention, raise your hand if you're going to convention. You know that a really big announcement is coming. And I literally know that you have no way of even guessing what it is. Like, this is so outside of the box that you're going to be like, what? And then what? And then, like, you're going to lose it. It's just like the best thing ever. So that means leading up to convention, just like, who was it that shared last week that they would, or Monday, about making a reel, like curiosity building? Who was on here? I forget who it was, but she said, make a reel talking about building up that curiosity of what is coming. So that's something, the couple days before convention, you can be building that up. It was iPhone Beck that said it. She's in the chat. So anyways, that's something you can build into it. If you have something that you want to share about in June, maybe you have some big goals, maybe there's something that you want to achieve, share about it. So we're going to finish social media planning. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and point project for each one of us. We're going to look at where we ended. We're going to look at where we want to go. And we're going to talk about, just like Heather said, she was 16 orders from Ruby. So what you need to do is decide how much attrition do you think is going to happen? And from that, how many more people do I need this month to make that happen? So you start today. You can't start the last week of the month, because by that time, every person you message is already going to know, oh, is it because it's the last week of the month? That is just never good for anyone. I'm going to go ahead and work on my social media. If anyone wants to share any ideas about social media, feel free to unmute.
Someone shared in the chat 2 people to follow.
Okay, so I just went on and printed off a June calendar. I didn't want to use my actual planner because I put like everything else I'm doing in there and I just didn't want it to be, crowded. So I'm just going to literally like pin this to my wall right here. And this helps me so much because one, it helps me to live a disciplined life. I'm always flying by the seat of my pants, literally always. And then I started thinking, I really have a lot to talk about. Like I actually do. And so I filled this all in. I went ahead and scheduled in some lives. And I thought about how Saturdays are probably not as busy on social media. So I just decided to save those for maybe sharing a quote or asking a question. So it's not going to be like something I spend a really long time writing and it means so much to me. And then it just ends up I'm talking to nobody. And then I tried to balance it where it was like every other day was kind of focusing in on Plexus. But even when I was doing the Plexus post, I was making it more personal. Like I'm going to do one about collagen and I'm going to talk about how my son, he started lifting weights and he loves to use the collagen because he knows he's getting all that extra protein. Like it's hard to find as much protein as you need or want. And I thought that's a really fun thing to share about that. It's different. It's not just about crow's feet, right? So anyways, I hope that you guys fill in your calendar, you know what you're posting, and that we just up our social media game for June. And anytime you see a video from Tips on the Top about social media, just take those tips and add it to your toolbox. So let's do a little bit of point projection. Who here feels like they're an expert at point projection? Like you do this, you know what you're doing. Okay, Stacy, thanks for the training. Here is Stacy's TED Talk. All right. Will you teach? Okay, so here's what I do. But see, I'm also just like I don't have like a rank that I'm trying to shoot for. So like right now I'm just trying to get the 500 points. If I get 500 points more over each month, I get a bonus. Or is it 300 points? It's 300 points and I get a $500 bonus. I'm switching the numbers up. So talk to us about what you do when you point project. Can we use Heather's numbers? Remember she said she ended 16 orders away from Ruby.
We can, it's just, you almost have to talk more generically unless we had, like we shared a screen and had it up there, but so just more generically, and then we can try to do something more specifically. I like to use a 10% attrition rate. So whatever my points were at the end of May, I'm going to subtract 10% from that, and that gives me my starting point. So that's where I figure that I am building from. So whatever my goal is then, whatever my point goal is, so if I want to get to Senior Ruby, then my goal is 750. Let's say with my attrition, I'm starting at 600 points. So I'm going to take the 750, subtract the 600 points that I have from it. I have 150 points then that I need to get whatever in the month. That's my goal then, that becomes my goal. The way that I do it, and people might do it differently, I divide that number by 5. So not by 6, because I kind of figure it's either going to be in my first, second, or third level. And then if it's lower, that's great, no problem. But I just kind of figure for myself, I divide it by 5. So if I need 150 points, that's going to be 30 orders that I am looking to get. So where are those going to come from? And the way that I do my map is I have this big, huge Post-it note. And so I start with myself. How many people out of those 30 orders do I plan to get? So I plan to get 6. I'm going to put my name, 6 lines on here. And then, so now I still need 24 more. So where are those going to come from? Well, I know that this level 1 is wanting to go Senior Gold. She's going to need about 5 more people. So I'm going to put her name, put 5 lines, and then I'm going to have a conversation with her. then I'm going to, from my list of 6 too, I can go back to that and say, okay, how many of those am I going to help go silver? Well, out of that 6, I want to help 3 go silver, fast start silver. We have the amazing rank up, rise up, rank up incentive still this month. And so I want to help as many people as I can to fast start. So I'm going to help 3 of those people go silver. Well, that's then 3, 6, 9 more people just from my name. So if we take the 6, add the 9 to it, I've covered 15. Is that making sense? Of the 24 that I need. And so I just kind of go through and I look at where were people on my team at the end of the month? Where could I give them a little push? Where could I make sure they're aware that they are this close? They only needed, 5 more orders to go senior gold. So let's do that this month. And we kind of talk through that. Who could that be? What's our plan? That sort of thing. So I don't know, is that helpful? Just to kind of give you an idea of how to start. That 10% has been pretty accurate as far as attrition. So I really think it's a good number to subtract from your total points that you ended at the end of the month. And then look at what your goal is and figure out then how many points does that mean that you need. And maybe you feel like, gosh, I'm so far away from, the next rank. That's okay. What about a 50-point growth or 100-point growth? And that just gets you that much closer for the next month. So don't feel like you aren't going to do a map because it feels so far away. Pick whatever point growth it is that you want and map out how that might look. The other thing I'll tell you I've been doing, and it's worked the last couple of months, I just have my big Post-it note again, and I put path to emerald at the top, and I use a green marker, and I am drawing 100 circles. So 10 rows of 10, and I'm making them circles. And then I have 10 at the end of the first row, 20, 30. So there's really no scientific mapping out of that. And 100 orders, give or take, right? But the point is it's just giving me that visual that I can look at every day. And when someone new adds to our team, I put in their name in a circle and I put who their sponsor was in that same circle. So it's just allowing me, and I even go one step further because it's my husband's team and my team, but I'm doing the 100 together. His are in red, mine are in green. And so we total it up together, but yet I can look real quickly and see how many, has my team added, which is part of his team. And then how many has just his team added, which aren't a part of my points. So I don't know if that was helpful. I'm such a visual person. So had I known I was going to be teaching, I would have had a visual prepared.
Okay,
But honestly, do you have any questions?
It was really, really helpful. A couple of the things that you said, one of them, it almost made me think of the word micro projection, because I was thinking about if you went to every one of your people that's ever added someone and you did micro projections, like you started with them and you already knew what each one of them would be going for, that really would help you to know like what you would be looking to go for. And what Stacy said about if you feel like you're like 250 points away from something, it's not really worth mapping it out. I would tell you that every single June when something launches at convention, that is a natural momentum causer. And so let's just say, what if you had so many people join and you hadn't done the work today to get you 50 points forward and you ended up 50 points away from a rank? You'd be like, ugh. So I think even that 50-point growth is really important. So maybe I'll just use Heather's.
Can I answer the question real quick? I just lost the chat, but somebody just asked, where did I get the number 5 from to divide? Terry, it is because level 1s give us 6 points, but I don't like to use 6. I'm using 5 because that's our level 2s and level 3s. Does that make sense? So if I get people, then it's an extra point, right? It's just a cherry on top. for what I'm figuring. The other thing I just want to put a little plug in for, and I know Jennifer, it was something, one of the last diamond tip things that we did, and this is horrible. I can't even think of the person's name. But I did purchase that point projection Excel system. And that is so nice. I could every single day in like a snap of my fingers tell you exactly where my points are projecting. So there's that too.
Yeah, that is a really helpful way to do it. And there is a way to figure out, you take your entire organization and you might have just levels 1s, 2s, and 3s. That makes it a lot easier. But if you have levels like 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, you're really wanting to know what's the average amount of points I'm getting per order. Because if you assume 5 and it really is a 4, then you're not projecting completely right. And all of that requires math. So I would talk to someone really smart. And ask them how
I
you-
can help with that real quick. So you
Okay.
basically would take your total number of points.
Okay.
And divide it by the total number of orders from the month. And that's going to give you your points, like your
So what you
points
would
per order
do
projection.
is just take your total number of points and
So
divide
if you had
it by-
600 points, if you had 600 points and you had 100 people order,
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
That's, you are averaging then 6 points per order.
I got it. I was
So
pretending like
that-
I knew that all along. That's what I was pretending.
That's how you can do it. And then the other thing I'll just add real quickly too, if you don't want to buy the fancy sheet that I have, the Excel sheet, then the other way to do it is to remember that our back office is set up really nicely where you can double tap on things at the top. So in order to get all of your level 1s together, so you can go and look through and see like who's got a subscription scheduled, then you double tap at the level and we'll put them in order of levels. So that's the other way before I got my fancy spreadsheet that I could easily go through and just project and just put it on, a piece of paper, level 6, level 5, or excuse me, 6 points, 5 points, 4 points. And then I would go through and any level 1s that still had a subscription left to go through for the month, I would just put a tally mark. And at the end, I would multiply those tally marks by 6 to get that point projection. For the 5 points, I would go through and tally mark for my levels 2s and 3s that still had subscriptions left to go through. Multiply that number by 5, that gives me the point projections of my 5 pointers and so on. But if you put it in, if you double tap the level, it puts them in order for your levels, and it's super easy then to go through on a computer, because if you try to do it on a phone or a tablet, you have to keep scrolling over to see who
Yeah.
and what level. But if you're on a computer, you see everything at one time.
Yeah, I do. I prefer it on the computer for sure. Well, let's just try to walk through this. Stacy, you're the best right-hand man ever. So let's just say Heather was sharing that she ended really close to Ruby. So she ended at 419 points. She's going to
Okay.
need to take her total number of orders and her points and find out what her average point value is. But I'm just making this up and saying it's a 4. That's just what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Assign a 4.
Okay.
So
So
we're going to subtract 10%.
Heather, you're gonna take your 419, and you're gonna, subtract the 10%. So we're gonna let's subtract 42 points. So 419 minus 42, hold please, 377 points
So
that
we-
you're going to,
yeah, I was gonna say, we can assume, barring any unusual thing, she's probably guaranteed to have at least 377 points. Because
right,
she went ahead and took into account, some people are not going to order again that ordered in May. So now we're looking at, we're going to call it a guarantee, but always put that in quotes, that she's going to have 377 points. Okay, so now we take Ruby is 500 points. That's what she's going for. Minus,
you
300 yep. Am I doing this?
123.
123 points is what she needs to secure the rank. But I would say you might want to go over that a little bit. Maybe give yourself a little cushion, like maybe 130, 140. But anyway, so if you had 123 points do you think 4 points per each is a good one, Stacy?
I would do 5 just because until you get higher up in the rank, I think 5's a really good number. I mean, you can figure it out exactly, but I would do the 123 divided by 5 and it's 24.6. So let's say you need 25 people. Of course, as Jennifer was just saying, give yourself a cushion and plan on, 27 to 30.
Yeah. So honestly, now that you've done that, instead of it being, I sure hope people join, you now know I need 25 people in my organization. And when you start early in the month and you even do, I've seen people do the little post-it notes that are like 25, 24, 23, and they're going live in their stories every day. They're sharing with their team. We only need 20 more. And then, oh, we only need 17 more. I've even seen people say for every 10 we add, I'll draw one name to give a $5 Starbucks gift card. There's so much you can be doing on the front end of the month to make sure that this doesn't become like the last week of the month and you need to like commit yourself to an institution because it's so much pressure. Yay. I feel so smart and mathy. Okay.
Hey, and Jennifer,
Yes.
I will say, so I had done that when Stacey was talking. That's kind of how we do our point projection as well. But I also look, and I know this is not every month, but like the last 3 months, my team has added 20 or more people. So to me, 25 is easy to get. So I'm pushing for senior Ruby. I won't stop at Ruby. I'll push for senior Ruby because to me, that's a given, right? You like that, don't you?
I really enjoyed that. Like I had a weird butterfly feeling in my stomach. I literally am loving the energy that you're giving off, Heather. It's like kind of contagious and I love it. So we can all be cheering Heather on. If you guys have a particular goal, make sure that you share that in the Power Hour chat because we want to make sure that we're cheering you on. And then when we get together next Monday, what I'm going to do is we're going to watch together the video for Tips from the Top for that day. And over the weekend, we give you Sunday to catch up and reflect if you need to do that. But I'd also like to hear any of your biggest takeaways. So make sure you're on Monday. We'll watch that together. Look at Christina. She's 52 orders for Senior Ruby. That's exciting. So I would start with the Post-it note extravaganza now, and then maybe that micro projection for the people on your team that maybe need to get to Senior Silver. And then you tell them what they're going to make. And so if everybody's working towards a goal, the more people working towards a goal, the better it is for you. Like if nobody has anything to work towards, then no one cares. It's the worst. It was good to see everybody. You guys have a good rest of your day.